Ryan, Netflix
Yeah.
musical.
Mm-hmm.
Tick, Tick, Boom. Andrew Garfield. Now, I've made no secret I am not necessarily and normally a fan of the movie musical. I'm not normally a fan of, well, I won't say I'm not a fan of live theater, but you get my point. I'm not normally a musical guy. But this is a musical.
Yes.
It's a musical adaptation of a musical about creating a musical. Really.
Yes.
It's this very meta musical. Directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who we all know is a musical guy. Yeah. Was this his first?
His first film, yeah.
Okay. I don't remember where he was on In the Heights. I didn't remember where he was involved on that one. Maybe it was producer.
He starred in it. He wrote it.
But he didn't direct it.
No, he did not direct it.
Okay. But this was written by Steven Levenson, based on the musical by Jonathan Larson, about Jonathan Larson, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Having tried, and it was a musical about the musical that he tried to write before this one. And then after this one, he went on to do Rent. That's very convoluted, and I had to figure that out and to make sure I understood what was going on here. Andrew Garfield plays Jonathan Larson. Alexandra Shipp plays his girlfriend. Robin DeJesus plays his best friend. And there are many, many other people. I said there's more I do not know Broadway, and even I figured out that basically if there was an extra in this film, it was probably someone really important on Broadway. Because some of them I was like, hey, wait a minute. So I got that, even though I'm not a Broadway guy. God damn, I really did enjoy this one.
It's so good.
And I think it's because it is, and maybe this was something that Larson did in his 3 musicals before he died, unfortunately, so young. But I think it might be the way it's structured with its music, and it might be the way he writes his songs. It just felt really, really good and natural all the way through for me.
Well, I think, okay, here's the thing. Okay, so the history of musicals, essentially you have touchstones every decade and a half or decade or so, that kind of change the direction, where somebody does something that they weren't supposed to be able to do.
Right.
And that's essentially the role that he played in musicals, in that he incorporated all sorts of influences. I guess if you want, you could say Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of kicked in the rock opera type sort of thing in the 70s. But this was taking it a step further, because Andrew Lloyd Webber always worked kind of in fantasy worlds and strange worlds, whereas Rent was a film and as a play, and it's a film as well, but it was very grounded in reality. That's what made it different from a lot of the spectacle that was going on. It was so much more real and raw, and it kind of it just changed what people thought about musicals. And without Rent, there's no Hamilton. And without, I mean, it's if you were to do kind of a track of the history of of musicals, you would find these every like I said, every few years something comes along and changes things. And he changed things, and unfortunately he only did write 3 plays. And so I think there were a lot of people who, if you were in New York, you may have known who he was, but outside of New York, until Rent happened, you wouldn't have known who he was. And so this is kind of a tribute to a person that I wasn't familiar with his personal story. I know Rent, and I know Rent's place in history, but I didn't know his story and his. So this was exciting for me, in that it was a story that I really didn't know. And it's a story about struggle, and it's a story about failure and success and disappointment, and it gets into all of his songs. And that's what essentially this musical is about. It's about the frustration of spending a decade of your life working on something, and coming to have to realize that, while it wasn't a worthless experience, it's not going to play out in the way that you had hoped.
Right. Let's talk about let's talk about the big thing in here. Andrew Garfield sings.
Oh yes.
I don't know if he plays the piano or not. He spends a lot of time at the piano. I don't know if Andrew Garfield actually plays the piano. That's literally just ignorance on my part. If he does it makes the performance even better, because there's some great piano work in here. But no, he sings, and he sings really well. It's really impressive. Vanessa Hudgens is one of the actresses that goes through his plays, and the readings and presentations and whatnot. So she basically just sings.
Yeah, she did Rent. So, it's kind of one of those things that kind of comes a little full circle for her.
Yeah, but so you forget that she started singing, not acting. Or it was more of a singer than an actress. But she sings really impressively in this as well. And so I had to step back and go, yeah, okay, I'll stop just dismissing Vanessa Hudgens out of head because it's Vanessa Hudgens. But no, but again, this is another film where the performances are so good. And yeah, Garfield, I mean, I liked him earlier this year as Jim Baker in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I thought he was great in that. He's just as great, if not better. I mean, because he's fantastic as Jim Baker in that earlier film. But it's a completely different performance. It's obviously a completely different character in this film. He's just as good. I mean, he's got two ridiculously excellent films this year. And this will be the one he gets any award consideration for.
Yeah.
And that's mostly because people will just dismiss The Eyes of Tammy Faye. But if you go back and look at that film, that's a phenomenal performance on his part. And if this film isn't released this year, that might, then that film they might look at him. Someone might remind people that he did that.
Sure.
But now they can push that film away. And they can go, yeah, but this, and again, it's an adaptation of a Broadway play, and so that plays into Hollywood too. Hollywood likes that kind of thing.
They do, but I mean, this doesn't really feel like a stage play though, because of the way that it moves, how it changes locations, how it when it's in a cramped little place. It lets you feel like you're in a cramped little place. So I think, I mean, obviously the songs are great. So this would I would love to see this live, but I think that I think you're probably getting a completely different experience watching it as a movie, and this is one of those cases where I don't think you're losing.
No, because I don't think Tick Tick Boom the play incorporates all that outside stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think it can. I think that was part of the adaptation. So I don't think we're losing anything from the play. We are definitely gaining with this film version. And again, it is you're the musical guy, you're the theater guy, but damn. I really did enjoy this one. And again, it's got to just be his construction. It's just got to be the way that he's constructing. I mean, even with the adaptation.
But it's filmed in creative ways as well, which I think is interesting because it doesn't feel like a first feature. And obviously, Lin-Manuel has a lot of experience. But he does a lot of interesting tracking shots, and he does there's a lot of interesting cinematic things happening in this as well. And I think, you know, that I guess, I mean, you knew that he was going to get nice singing performances, but did you know that he was going to give you, you know, interesting cinematography and whatnot? And no, you know, I mean, does it surprise me? Not necessarily, but you know, it's hard.
But it
to
wouldn't have been
ignore
the first thing on your list to
No.
expect.
No, because you could, I mean, you know, I mean, cinema is such a different beast than theater. I mean, they're you know, I guess fundamentally there's elements of them that are you know the same, but they are, you know, different, radically different. And
Well, in a theater, there's 500 points of view,
sure,
and in cinema, there's one.
yeah, and it, you know, and just I was just kind of taken back by just a lot of the camera movements and the way that the way that it followed choreography and things, and I just, to me, this is what, you know, if you're going to adapt something that was made for the stage into a movie, this is the sort of way you need to do it. You need to, you know, push the elements that cinema has that theater doesn't.
Right.
Do things that, whether that be the close-ups or the, you know, pulling. I mean, just the way that you're making, you know, the film. But I think this was just wonderfully constructed. Great songs, great performances. And to be clear, I don't love every musical I ever see. In fact, I have hated my share of musicals, and generally that is because they're without purpose. You know, there's no like reason to why it's all spectacle, and there's, and sometimes that's fine too. But you know, sometimes it just, if the songs aren't incredibly strong, I'm not going to buy into your musical. You know, It doesn't matter how many things you blow up on stage. It doesn't matter how, you know, you've got to do the fundamental things right. But I think that this appeals to a wider audience because it's not necessarily what you think of when you think of a musical. It's you know, and part of the film is him trying to explain that to the people around him. You know, no, I need a band to play with me so you understand what this sounds like. Well, why don't you just play it on the piano? Because I need a band,
right?
You know, and so that's also part of the struggle, is him struggling with, you know, the ideas of what a musical is and what it can be, and he's trying to take it to a different place, and it's not that they're just uncomfortable with the idea of expanding. It's just they don't see how that it's just beyond their comprehension. You know, these are, you know, except for there's one particular famous person in this film that kind of, and it's rather poignant.
It is,
considering you know what's happened. Sondheim is one of his early one of the people who appreciated and understood what he was doing. And
portrayed by Bradley Whitford.
Yes.
Really well.
Yeah.
Because he came on screen and I was like, because, you know, obviously this weekend, a lot of news coverage, fluff pieces on Sondheim.
Yeah.
And I was like, did he like film this before he died? But that's Bradley Whitford, who's great. Really quick though, another kind of cameo, an actress that I haven't seen a lot of that I kind of miss, Judith Light, plays his agent, his hard to reach agent. I was like, that's Judith Light. That's like, oh, I haven't seen her in a while. She was great too. But no, yeah, Sondheim is one of the only ones really that in the film that goes, no, I get it. I see what you're doing.
And it's funny because once he starts saying that, everyone else goes, oh, yeah, okay. You know, because there's just something neat about that. And, you know, I would have liked to see more of that relationship, but I think part of that's because in the state of mind I'm in, I would,
Yeah.
but and apparently, because at the end of the film, Sondheim has left a voice message for
Oh,
him.
right. Yeah.
And apparently that is not the original message. Apparently he saw an early screening of it and said, "Oh, I would never say what it was that they had him saying at the end of, on this
Right.
voice message." And he said, "Can I rewrite it as I would have said it, or as and so there's this idea that may have been one of the last things he gave us.
My God.
And he was like, "If you can't get the actor, I'll record it for you."
Can you just record? If I was Bradley, just record it anyway.
Yeah, but
just record it anyway.
So I mean, there's just some neat stuff because again, if we're tracking the history of musical, Sondheim is on that company in particular. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but but there's just it's kind of a neat film in that it is tying together kind of three different generations that were all kind of part of this. Let's make musicals something that people don't think musicals can be.
Right.
And because Hamilton was something that people laughed about, and then they saw it and their jaw dropped.
Yep.
Rent, probably something that people thought, I don't, or it was. Well, you look at how people reacted to what he was doing prior to it, and so yeah, I just think it's, I think the musical theater gets a bad rap because it's thought of being cheesy and conservative and safe, but the best musicals are the ones that are just the opposite of that are, take big risks, that do something new, that don't worry about what the rules are. And that's kind of what this film and the story is about.
Yep. So to wrap it up, so award season rolls around. Obviously, we were talking about Andrew Garfield. This is a movie that's going to get talked about. Does Lin-Manuel Miranda get mentioned as director somewhere in some circles?
I don't think that that's out of the question.
At least for like a Globe, because what, musical or comedy?
Sure. Yeah. Well, yes. I think you might have nailed it there. That might be, but no, I think it gets mentioned. But the problem is we've got some really good films from some really good directors this year. So it's going to be, does he get in? Maybe. And is he worth considering? Absolutely. I'll shortlist him, and then because in the next couple of weeks I'm going to have to start figuring out, okay, who directed, who did the best job of directing this time around, and
right.
And he's yeah. I mean, again, this film's probably could make my top 10. It probably will make my top 10. It's a movie that, and a movie / musical that actually I don't. Sometimes you have to go, well, hey, look, it's a musical, and you may not be into, but I don't even feel like you need to put that disclaimer on this film. It is what it is, and it kind of is what it was supposed to be and what it should have been. So
yeah,
I think people
they did something right if I like it.
Well, no, yeah.
So yeah. I mean, and that's not tooting my own horn. That's tooting the film's horn.
No, but I mean, and I can only guess that that first song kicks in, and you think, okay, maybe this, okay, rather than, I mean, I joke about it, but I mean, when we saw Cats, all of us knew within 30 seconds that just wasn't going to work.
Right.
And this is a film that in those first 30 seconds, you go, I think this is going to work. I think, okay, this is interesting.
Yep. I was pleasantly surprised. And the longer it went, the less surprised I was, and the more pleasant I was.
Sure.
So, and that's the way it should work. So yeah, so no, it's really, really good. It is going to have company in the musical department.
Very soon.
Very, very soon. I will be seeing West Side Story tomorrow. Hopefully you will be seeing it at some point.
Yeah. No, I'll see it about a week later, I think is what is going to, yeah, unfortunately I've got an adventure that I'm going on. This one was unexpected, but I'm going to do my first in-person junket this week.
Oh, and first one in a while anyway.
First one for a very long time. So I'm going to New York, and so I have to kind of.
For which film?
For Cyrano.
Oh, nice.
Which is actually a musical as well.
And what? I am looking forward to that. I think that's this week as well that I'll be seeing that.
Yeah. So
stupid me, three musicals in a 7-day span. I might have to get myself checked.
Yeah,
but that's assuming Cyrano comes off, because that could go wrong.
It could, but
that
I took a little. It was. It has been performed as a stage play, so it's been tried out. You know what I mean? It's not like
okay,
they just
so it's not a completely
no, but it's so and honestly, that I feel quite a bit actually better about that, because it's when you have a play that's been produced, and if you watch Tick Tick Boom,
right.
you'll know this, that these things get workshopped and these things get worked over, sometimes for years before anyone sees them.
Right.
So we'll see. Joe Wright directing it, who I tend to like his stuff. So we'll see.
We'll see. Couple musicals this week. We'll see how those turn out. So that is Tick Tick Boom, exclusively on Netflix.
Yeah.
Now as we speak. Definitely check it out. Said I'm shocked that I'm that enthusiastic about it, but if you watch it, you'll understand why. So again, 2 more musicals coming this week, a lot more big films coming. We've still got a couple more that we've already seen that we have yet to talk about, which we will be getting to soon, as quickly as we can. But until we do, don't forget to like us, follow us on social media at VS Movie Podcast. You know the drill. Subscribe on YouTube if you watch us there. Stay safe, be good, enjoy this holiday season. And until next time, I am Mark. That is Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.